we're going to talk about Warren Buffett.
Yeah, so I think there's a few that we're going to talk about Warren Buffett. So I think I'm going to go in a little different direction than Brian or was expecting. We don't have to listen to it. It was just the headline that Warren Buffett has a big worry over the U.S. dollar going to hell. And I think maybe if you scroll down, the exact quote was, "We wouldn't want to own anything that we thought was in we wouldn't want to own anything that we thought was in a currency that was really going to hell." And that's a big worry about the United States currency. And the main theme there is, I was thinking back around, like, let's call Bukele. We can pick whatever pivot point in the past 5 years. So maybe it's Bukele, maybe it was RFK, but this Overton window where it starts to shift, where you have, political powers, sovereigns adopting, and then, it's a leading indicator to the big kind of bazooka that comes. And I think the big bazooka recently is an orange president and a SBR and everything. That was the past 24 months. And so you take the guy, one of the richest people on the planet Earth, sitting in whatever, $350 billion in cash, and that historically is called Bitcoin rat poisoned, and is retiring probably because of health, but also probably because of the certain fiscal situation we find ourselves in, referencing you probably want to hold other currencies other than the US dollar. And I think, like, obviously that's big in a vacuum, but if you take what I just said previously about the leading indicator and, the Overton window shifting, like, I don't even think the Overton window exists in my mind anymore. Like, everything's up for grabs when it comes to value, currency, and what's going to be used in the future. And I think it's just, it's pretty indicative to have that comment come out this past week.
Yeah, he in the full clip of sort of that section of his commentary, at these Berkshire shareholder meetings, I had the pleasure of attending a few of them back in my private banking days. He talks for like 3 hours, 4 hours, and also just like fields questions from the audience. So I don't know what prompted this section of his commentary, but the other quote from it was, "The natural course of government is to make the currency worth less over time." And so he also talked about how, like, I'm concerned about it in the US, but like this is an issue everywhere around the world. And so he's like really just talking about the plight of the fiat system. And, in years past, he's had somewhat similar comments, but nothing this explicit where he really talked about it for like 3 whole minutes about this being a real issue. And it's also interesting to think, historically he's had exposure not outright to gold, but he's owned gold mining companies in the past. So it's fascinating because, widely recognized as one of the greatest investors of all time. And it seems like he's, even at his old age, like kind of at the precipice of being orange pilled. If he was in the right room with the right people, he might see the vision of Bitcoin because he's really outlining the problem very succinctly and comprehensively. Without necessarily pointing to the solution, but he's really got the problem nailed.
Yeah, I think you also brought this older clip. Let's have a look at this one.
Your annual report, you say that if you're in a poker game for 30 minutes and you don't know who the patsy is, you're the patsy.
You've got it.
How do you apply that to the market or to investing?
In the market, if you think the market knows more about what your business is, in other words, if your stock goes down 10% and that upsets you, it obviously means that you think the market knows more about the company than you do. And in that case, you're the patsy. If it goes down 10% and you want to buy more because you know the business is worth just as much as when you bought it before, or perhaps a little bit more with the passage of time, so you buy more, they're the patsy.
Yeah, I love this so much. Like if you just exchange the topic of a company with Bitcoin, then that's basically what he's talking about.
That is it. It's really, he boils down the essence of what value investing is, and it's finding assets, whether it's an equity or in this case a technological revolution in Bitcoin. But finding assets that are severely misunderstood or, very mispriced, and doing so with the understanding that, it's real value, and the market doesn't necessarily know the real value. So it may fluctuate day to day, week to week, quarter to quarter, but having that long-term conviction in, what the actual value of the asset is over the long term is what allows you to have conviction when the price goes down and actually accumulate more. Did we lose Brom?